guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Donna, and for those of you not new, thank you so much for continuing to come back and support my channel. I appreciate all of you so very much. Today we're doing episode 99 of my palette roulette series, and I cannot believe that we have been doing this long, or that I have this many palettes, but I have to tell you, I have so much more to do, so fun stuff. Let's just keep going. Today's palette is the Huda Beauty Sapphire Obsessions palette that we pulled last week. This palette is a 9-pan palette by Huda Beauty. This is what it looks like on the inside. It does have a 4.9 star rating on Huda Beauty and a 4.3 star rating on Sephora. I do think that probably the 4.3 star is more accurate just because there is some inconsistencies with this formulation that we'll go over in a second. But the outside of the packaging looks like this. It is rather pretty. It's part of the gemstone collection. So, and it's very reminiscent on what is actually going on the inside of the palette. All those colors on this cover are shown in the shades on the inside of the palette. The back of the palette just looks like this. It doesn't give you any information. Doesn't give you the shade names. This palette doesn't have any shade names. We all know that that's kind of a bugaboo for me. I'm not super thrilled about those kind of things in a palette. I purchased this palette through Ipsy, so it didn't cost me as much as it would have the regular Joe Blow off the street that is trying to purchase the palette. The palette does typically cost $27, which isn't bad really for a Huda Beauty Obsessions palette. A lot of her full-size palettes are like $65, so $27 isn't bad for half the shades. I think it's less than half the price, so there's that. It does have a nice size mirror, and I think that it's a good travel palette. It gives you a lot of shade range, and its magnetic closure is really good. The 9 shades do look like this. It does boast to have 4 matte shadows and 5 duochromes. I would say that those duochromes are definitely not really duochromes. They're shimmers for sure, but the only one that's really a duochrome is the center shade here, where it's kind of got this like green, black, blue shiftiness to it. The rest of them are just shimmers. It is definitely, like I said, blue, so very cool toned palette. It does have a little pop of green in here, which is actually a really nice yellow, but not really a nice green. It's more of a yellow based green, so that chartreuse color in nature. Each one of these pans comes in at 0.04 ounces per pound, which isn't bad. That's roughly the same size as a ColourPop single. That'll cost you $5 a piece, or $6 a piece now I think they are, so $27 for 9 pans is not that bad if you like the color scheme. Blue isn't right up everyone's alley. I'm one of those people. I am not a huge fan of blue, but I pulled it off for a solid 7 days. Not that I wore this palette every single day, but some things that I just wanted to share with you guys, some things that I do have written down, is that the shimmers in here work best with your finger. We all know that I'm not that big of a fan of having to use my finger as an apparatus to apply eyeshadow, but they really do work best with your finger. This one here is a straight up glitter. We also know that Donna's not super fond of glitters because I'm terrified of them, but it really is just glitter. It falls out all over the place when you put it on your eyes, so the shimmers work best when they're tapped onto your eye look versus put on with a brush. The mattes in here were super patchy. Not a whole lot of the pigmentation that I expected out of the mattes in this palette was observed in the eye looks. I mean, today I do have this teal color is actually the color that is closest to my brow bone up here, in between the white and the darker shades on my lid, and it's just not that same shade. And while I understand that I did, you know, buff it out, it was blended very well, it really, I wanted a lot more color and a lot more payoff than that. This dark blue here is super patchy. In every eye look that I did with it, I did have to go in with this cobalt blue down here just to make it show itself in an eye look without the patchiness to it. This blue down here was actually a really good blue. This one does have a lot of staining that happens on your eyes whether you have an eye primer on or not. This palette does work best with an eye primer. It's going to go onto that eye primer and really kind of grab onto that eye primer. So it's going to stick a little bit better than it would on just your bare skin, which I could say is something that I'm thankful for, but it's not going to help you out in the staining category. It does stain quite a bit. The shimmers, because they're so like kind of chunky, they work best actually on top of a primer that has a stickiness to it. So maybe like even a glitter glue would work best for you as far as this shimmer and this shimmer goes. The other three, I'm sorry, actually do quite well. I do have this one, and this one in my eye look today, just here on the lid from the outskirts of the lid all the way into the inside. And they work pretty well. I think they perform more like a satin than they do an actual like glitter based shimmer. So that's okay with me. I just wish it had a lot more pigmentation to it than it did. It lasts about, I would say, a good 12 hours before I saw any kind of fading from the shadows, except for with the mattes. The mattes last a good 8 hours maybe before fading occurs. The shimmers do like to stick around though, and I accidentally fell asleep with this blue on my eyes and it lasted all the next day as well. So there's some good longevity to these shadows on your eyes if you use a great primer for them or a setting spray to foil them. So with that, hopefully I've gotten some pictures in here for you. I didn't necessarily scoot over, so I'm hoping that I was able to get them in. I'm going to go ahead and swatch these shadows for you so that you guys can see what they look like swatched. Again, there is no names on this palette for any of these shadows. So I'm just going to go this bottom three over, and then I'll get these two in here, and then we'll do the last four in the next round. So this is that teal on the end of that first row. Then we have, I'm sorry, teal shimmer. Then we have the like kind of cobalt blue. It's got kind of a purple reflect almost shimmer as well. And then we have the navy blue matte. You guys can see kind of the patchiness of that. This one is the silver, and it didn't swatch super well, so I'm going to go over the top of that. But that is the silver, and it swatches really well, but I'm telling you, you guys, this doesn't, I did have an eye look with this on the inner portion of my eye, and it just doesn't function very well in an eye look. And then that is that center shade that has kind of the duochrominess to it. It's got a little bit of a light blue, dark blue, black base, so it does show a lot like a duochrome. And the last four are these guys here. They're this whole bottom row here, and then this teal blue. This is kind of like a teal blue, leans more blue shimmer. This one is a cobalt blue matte. You can see a little bit of its patchiness right there in the center too. Then this one is that chartreuse green. You guys can see that that's not hugely pigmented. I did use it quite often in my looks. It's actually one of my favorite shades in this palette, but it just doesn't perform very well. And then there's this one here, which is the teal matte that is in my eye look today towards the brow bone. So those are the shades in this palette. I don't have a whole lot to say about this palette that is any different than what I have reviewed before in the Huda Beauty like Obsession palette line, because I think I've done at this point the coral. I think I've also done the ruby obsessions. I think I've also done mauve. With that being said, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this formula that makes me say it's not necessarily one that you need to use. I do have the Norvina Volume 3, right? That's the blue one. And Nope, that's volume 2. I do have the Norvina volume 2 that has all these blues in it. It actually also has, I believe, that chartreuse in it. I feel like I have better luck with those blues in that palette than I do with these ones. And that is a rough formula to have to maneuver through as well. This eye look didn't take me very long today, but it's mostly shimmers, and the shimmers do perform better, honestly, than the mattes do. But again, they're shimmers that you have to use your finger for, and I'm just not a fan. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and pick a new palette. So you guys know that when I pull for a palette roulette, a new palette for palette roulette, I do use an app that I pulled from the Play Store. It's called the Decide Now app, and it just looks like a wheel of fortune. So this is the wheel that we have to choose from. When I get new palettes in and I've hauled them with you guys, I do put them into this wheel, and when we use a palette through palette roulette or I've decluttered a palette, I do pull them out. So hopefully we aren't, you know, accidentally pulling palettes that we've already used in the past. So to spin the wheel, I just push the button here and we get the palette of choice. So let's do that. Norvina Mini Volume 3. So, funny story, my daughter is sitting right here and she goes, it's going to be a Norvina palette. And I'm like, I already used them all. The Norvina palette, the Mini Volume 3 is one that is relatively new to my collection. So I'm actually kind of excited to use it. I just hauled it in last month, I believe, for my birthday. It's one that I bought myself for my birthday. So I'm going to go get that. I'll be right back. Alright guys, this is the Norvina Volume 3 Mini, and this is what it looks like. I love the packaging. That's part of the reason why I wanted it. And then this is the palette. So, a little bit of blues again, a little bit of greens, but we do have some purples and some oranges. This is a cool and warm tone palette, and I'm actually kind of excited to use it. This like little button of a color right here is very pink, but also when I look at it from this side, it kind of has like this green shimmeriness to it. So it's very strange. I'm interested to put that onto my eyeballs. So that is what I have for you guys. I am so excited to come back to you next week. I hope that you are also excited to find out my thoughts about this Norvina Mini Volume 3 palette. I hope that you guys liked this video, and I hope that if you did, you're considering giving it a big thumbs up. It really does help our channels out here. It tells YouTube that we've got something that somebody likes to watch, and the analytics maybe push it out to somebody else to watch, and it's totally free to do. So you should totally do it. I also hope that you liked it, or me, enough that you're considering subscribing to my channel before you go. I would love to have you around. I would love to have you as part of my crazy YouTube life here, my crazy YouTube fam, and to see you down in the comment section, and we could just, you know, talk to each other down there. So please consider subscribing before you go. If you do that, please don't forget to hit the notification bell. It will notify you every single time I upload a video, and I do it 3 to 4 times a week. I wouldn't want you to miss anything, so don't forget to hit that bell. I hope you and yours are staying safe out there and staying well. I hope that you're wearing your masks, because we're just never going to get out of this unless we're all masking up. I also hope that you're loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, guys, bye.
What's the thumbnail?
The thumbnail is the picture that you see
in the beginning.
So that's why you edit it, because you freeze it. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
I'm hot.
Hey, I've been wanting to try
Are you guys
this.
hot?
I could feel like you're in the wind.
Are you guys hot? I'm hot. Is it because of this?
It's because of the lights.
It's a whole different person that she's filming. She's like Vanna White. Yeah, I have a lot too.
She cleansed it.
From her. I just don't have the energy.
What's the score?
There you go. We're good.
Bye! Bye!